Good afternoon. It's afternoon. I'm so used to being evening or morning when I start at 22 panels that I almost said evening, and it's not really evening yet.
Yeah,
Good afternoon, everybody.
yeah,
I,
that's
I
good.
think it's weird that I even feel like I need to say good morning, good evening, or whatnot. We're a podcast. People listen when they feel like it. But I'm saying good evening or good afternoon to Tim Seeley, who's joining me today. And if we're lucky, Jim Terry will show up. But he had something come up at the last minute, and that's totally understandable. He came on and was very kind to me before, as has Tim. So Tim, good to see you again. How's it
Yeah,
going?
yeah, Ted. Hope all is
So
well in this daytime lit world of yours. That seems
I
so strange.
I know
Foreign
it's
land.
crazy. It's crazy. We can see light. So you recently wrapped up another arc of West of Sundown. You have a what, two or three times over funded Kickstarter. Since Jim's not here, we could talk money shot. What do you want to leave with?
Sure, let's talk my shot. We just finished up. We finished up the fourth volume, which was uh,
Right.
"Fuck Billionaires." That was the subtitle that we were using to describe it. But that was volume five or volume four just finished up. So that is like the 20th issue of Money Shot, essentially, which is crazy. Just
Yeah.
this week.
I loved it from the get-go, the whole idea that, the world didn't want to pay for science, so they had to figure out a way to pay for their spaceship, and it's like, oh, we could go to space and fuck things.
Yeah, it's like the Star Trek, but also OnlyFans. It's like if you were
Right,
Captain Kirk and you're
right.
charging for
There's this billion-dollar industry that we could, or multi-billion-dollar industry that we could tap into.
right, yeah, big high concept there. But I mean, the other side of it with that book is that it's it's never not relevant, which is a bummer. It's a sci-fi book, so it's also satirical, but it's always relevant to make fun of the idea that you have to hump your way to fund science. I think
It
that's the
is.
it's a
It is.
bummer that it's always relevant, but it always is.
Pretty much. Pretty much. So I mean, I appreciated, and I got to ask, was it dumb luck that it was at the same time that he was kickstarting his hardcover collection, or was that planned that Cherry Pop Tart would make her, or Pop Star, Cherry Pop Star? We don't want Kellogg's to get on us.
Yeah, right, exactly. It was kind of all timed a little bit. I mean, obviously, just the way schedules work and stuff. But Larry Wells is the creator of Cherry Pop Tart. He wanted to bring Cherry back. He's been working on some stuff, a lot of trading cards and art books and stuff. And so the guy
Action
who's
figures.
running a lot of his other stuff is this guy named Steven, who runs a company called Fivefinity. And so, he said, "Hey, we're looking to do some stuff with Cherry," and I'd done some pinup stuff. And then I came up with the idea of putting her in Money Shot and pitched it to those guys, and they were like, "Yeah, let's do it. It'll help, do exactly what we're trying to do. It was get, remind people that Cherry was way ahead of the game, doing this satirical porn comic stuff, uh, and that we don't want to forget what an influential cartoonist Larry is." So, uh,
And special because it was actually good comics,
yeah,
and the girls were different, and not, they had agency. I actually read like an essay recently about how Cherry's arguably a feminist comic, and I went,
yeah,
damn straight.
yeah. I
I
mean,
didn't
and
quite, you put it way better than I could. And you're a woman, so you're allowed to say it.
and what's interesting because that era of stuff, a lot of the comics, so you got Cerebus, you got Cherry. They start out as parodies of something, like Cerebus starts out as a parody of Barry Windsor Smith Conan, and Cherry starts out as a parody of Archie and
Archie.
Archie strips and such. And then they sort of evolve over time into something like you said, with characters with agency, but also become about other things. And so
Right.
Cherry became about the kind of the conservatism of the '80s,
Right.
the push, the pushback against, you know, music and all those things that were going on, and Cherry has all that stuff in it. And it was basically the first adult comic I ever encountered. on accident, essentially, because there
I
was
don't think I was even an adult when I encountered it, but
yeah, yeah. I mean, me too. And I think it was,
I
back
mean,
in,
I think I was 16, so I wasn't.
I
I
think I was
wasn't like some 9-year-old.
right. Yeah, I was like 13, and
I think I was old enough that I didn't get carded when I bought it. How about
yeah, you probably had the same beard as you have now. But it was a different time in comics, and I think we wanted to pay homage to that, so it all worked out great, and I hope we were able to remind people of how cool that character is, and
I
how
think you did a good job.
she
I
works.
enjoyed it a lot.
Oh, thanks, man.
I enjoyed it a lot. And I was one of his first backers on the Kickstarter, so I'm enough of a fan that it's not like, oh, you got this Archie thing, and actually I just realized I talked to Dennis Kitchen on Monday night, and I don't think we talked Cherry. We talked Comic Book Legal Defense Fund, but we didn't
Well, that's good.
talk about
Well, that is
but
certainly
we did acknowledge that we have to talk again, because even talking for 2 hours, we like barely touched the tip of the iceberg.
good interview for sure.
Oh, he's such a nice guy. Yeah. So, any more plans for Money Shot, or do you feel like it's? I
Yeah,
mean, as you said, it's kind of evergreen.
yeah, yeah. It's always ready and available and firm. Yeah, I definitely have another idea. I'm gonna figure out the best collaborators for that particular idea. So I'm working on some stuff now. But I love the book. It's it's one of those books that when we put it out, it just sort of finds the audience that exists, and they find it. And I don't hear a lot about it. But then when I go to conventions, people like sneak up with their Money Shot and like have me sign it, and then
Kind of like everybody used to buy, like they just choose like 4 comics to wrap their cherry in when they
right,
get up to the register.
you got your
I only came for this, but give me an X-Men, give me an Archie.
yeah, right. We'll just stick that in there alongside Faust. So no big deal, Yeah, but that's a fine and firm tradition that I'm happy to keep up. So
Yeah, I mean, it promotes other sales.
right, exactly. Yes, buy more comics to cover up your spank comic. But I mean, I think there's also lack. I think of a certain kind of sexy comic, and that's a bummer. And so
Right.
hopefully there are other. I mean, I know a lot of people do them through Kickstarters and such, but I don't see a lot of
I
them.
think I think a lot of them are out there. There's a new underground that's not as underground, but it's also a lot more hand sold and or web comics and or
Kickstarters. Yeah.
Instagram comics, though I imagine they can't get quite as explicit on the Instagram comics. But yeah, no, the deeper I get into the comics world, and I insist, we're living in the platinum age of comics. There's way more great comics to read right now than anybody could ever hope to keep up with.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and it's a lot of that growth is exactly what you said. It's via bookstores, and it's also via web platforms. So
Right.
that
They're so all over the place, and
that's kind of a real mainstream.
Even when it comes to bookstores, there's the comics at Barnes and Noble, there's the comics at Quimby's, there's so many different avenues to publish and get your stuff out now. It's fun. It's fun. I can't say it any other way than that. It's fun.
Yeah,
It's always be discovering new comics.
Yeah, it's just too bad it isn't more centralized to some degree, so that people could find things
Yeah.
a little bit easier.
Well, and I mean, if there are, I mean, our mission is to explore, examine, and elevate the medium of comics, and the elevate really means a lot to me. But if I had like a subplot to the elevate, it would be to convince the people who are in independent comics that the indies in the stores are cool too. And maybe there's been a good superhero comic in the last 50 years. And that we're all, I mean, I was at CXC this year. That's where I met Dennis Kitchen. And what I love the most about that convention is it's the one that I've been to anywhere that the most different kind of artificial walls between different types of comics people get broken down. You know, when you have Shelley Bond having to get out of the room so Raina Telgemeier can come in.
Yeah. I mean, that's I think even one that you have to convince even more is manga fans, which there is this weird perception among American readers that manga is a different thing, but it's even among manga readers, which is that American comics are somehow, only superheroes. Which the biggest frustration is, I think, if you spent time working in the direct market in the comic shops, I've spent 20 years trying to convince people that it's not just superheroes, and I think we've finally gotten through there. But to know that there's this entire audience that is hundreds of thousands strong that's still going, yeah, but it's all superheroes. And you're just like, what? But no, it's not.
Well, I mean, I tell people that I'm into comics, and half of them ask me about the most recent superhero movie.
Right, totally.
And it's like, I don't know. I only kind of care.
Yeah.
I am so far. I mean, I enjoy most Marvel movies. I probably enjoy most of the ones that the rabid movie people hate.
Yeah.
But I don't view them as, oh, I must get to this. I'm always behind on whatever the new thing is, because it's like, yeah, I'll catch it on Disney Plus. And not even like when it hits Disney Plus, like when I'm bored some evening and don't have a stack of comics to read.
Yeah. I mean, I've kind of had the same basic view of that stuff, which is I like superheroes because I like comics. I don't like comics because I like superheroes, which I think and I like superheroes enough that I will absolutely go see those movies, and I enjoy certain characters a lot. But this weird genre anchor that we've been saddled with, it's such a bummer, and it's so hard to get around. It shocks me, and I teach at a college, so I can tell you that that the kids who are super into manga, they are very aware. They're probably more aware than any 20-year-olds have ever been of comics, which is amazing. But for them, the majority of the stuff that they're into is manga. I mean, I'm always surprised because a certain amount of my kids are really into stuff like Scott Pilgrim or Hellboy, so there is stuff getting through, but they've got so much of their interest already fulfilled by these really long running manga series that their bandwidth.
Well, and that's part of it, is that they tend to be long running. So if you really get into 2 or 3 manga series,
you're covered. Just be a One Piece reader and be busy for another 2 years.
Right.
I think that's great for that creator. That's an amazing accomplishment, but it is a barrier to the other.
I mean, that's actually one of my barriers to manga, and I go out of my way to get into it, but there's so many series that I've read the first few volumes, and it's like, I'll get to more of them.
Yeah.
Want to get to more of them, but I have to remind myself that I can treat them like Batman. I can like Batman without having read Batman.
Right, exactly. I mean, it is interesting to me that I will sometimes hear that from manga readers, stuff like, well, where do I start? It's like, well,
start with volume 1.
And manga is so similar in that way too. Like, how many versions of Devilman are there? Or how many versions of, or Astro Boy? So it's interesting to me that's like that stuff makes sense to them, but like, and they'll learn how to read things a reverse direction of what they learned in school.
Well, and even harder if they don't know Japanese, because not only are you're reading the pages in reverse, you're reading the panels in the reverse, but you're reading the words in
the same order,
in the regular direction, which means you have to. I'm like, the first few times I read manga, I mean, until I built up a tolerance, and it gave me headaches.
Yeah,
because and I still actually prefer to read manga on a tablet than in paper, because it's easier for me when I'm not having to go across the ridge line in the book.
Yeah.
in terms of like my eye handling where to go.
Yeah, I mean, it must tell us that we have made American comics so impenetrable that people would rather learn a different language than read our books. I mean, that's got to be what we take from it. So,
I mean, yes and no, because I mean, Reina still sells better.
oh yeah,
I think I think we go back to the problem we were talking about, which is too many people think American comics are just superheroes. So
right.
until they can manage to, if they walk into the right comic shop, they'll immediately be introduced to other things.
Yeah.
And I don't even blame the comic shops that lead with the superheroes, because that's where they pay their bills.
Yeah, but and also I think they've become too reliant on it. They didn't.
Absolutely.
That's another. And there's stores that don't order anything. I mean, this is a whole other conversation that isn't about Money Shot or Deathstalker, but it is this weird that there's a reliance on a certain thing that's no longer working, and now people don't know how to change it. And it's and that's I don't know if we're in a place where the people who are doing this stuff have the amount of energy it would take to change. I think everybody kind of just got by, and they were like happy to get by. But now that it's not going to be more difficult, it will take some energetic young folks.
I think that we've always had a lot of creative store owners, because, and there's a reason that comics have never become like a chain thing. You don't have real chains of comic stores. At most you have a local chain. You've got graham crackers around Chicago. You've got, I forget the name of the small chain in like the Boston area. There used to be a chain down in Florida, but I think it had like half of its stores not survive the pandemic.
Right. Which was a big, the pandemic did weird stuff because it's supercharged collecting.
Right.
And that's, it's really helped like people who have a lot of back issues and stuff, but we're still dealing with the people not going to stores the way they were. Right. It's become like it gets even more stratified. And
right. Well, but where I was really going is the definition of a local business.
Right. Yeah.
What works in one neighborhood or one town won't necessarily work in another. And on top of that, who works there winds up mattering a ton. I mean,
oh yeah,
hand sales at comic shops are a major thing. That's why and Money Shot was Vault, west of Sundown was Vault. So this actually fits all in. I am really anxious to see how their gambit of giving away 25 free copies of, I forget what the one that they did this week was.
Natural Order, yeah.
Natural Order, Unnatural Order, isn't it?
Natural Order, yeah.
And then Zach Kaplan's Beyond Real next month. Because I think that's brilliant, particularly because they're printing the price on them. So they're pretty much telling the stores, look, you probably shouldn't give these away. Take more money for them. But it also gives them an excuse to read the book and find a way to hand sell it, because they're going to make $4 rather than $2 on every sale. And if they actually manage to hand sell it, that they don't have the same risk to try to get a subscription.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I mean, Volt is, I really like working with Volt. I appreciate that they have a different plan. They have a different audience that they are looking for. They are not interested in trying to fight it out with superhero publishers, and they are very good at the genres they do. I mean, when I heard about this idea at San Diego Comic-Con, I don't know. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great try. It's comic fans right now are so hard to get into something. So maybe this is the only way.
I mean, again, from my time in comic shops, both behind the counter and shopping, one of the best way to get somebody into a comic is to have the store owner that they know and trust, or the store staff member that they know and trust, have a conversation with them about it.
Yeah. I mean, and every comic creator who has a creator owned book can tell you there's probably one or two stores out there that you know about because their owner pushes that your book harder than anywhere else. When you get your orders in, you're like, that's that one store. Like
Right.
because of and I've that is such a defining feature of this is that you need retailers with faith in their product and they have to be fans, and if they are fans, they sell more books, and you know, but it's a hard thing to do when there's a ton of books and there's
I mean, obviously there are a lot of places that do this well with Saga, but I like to tell the story of the shop that I worked at for a while and Saga, because the owner wasn't enough into comics and certainly not into non-superhero comics enough to like really be aware of the number of people that could be hand-sold Saga and the fact that they'd come back. So we would regularly be out of the first trade paperback, and I'd give them a hard time. And I remember one Saturday morning, I got in, and as soon as I got there, I got a text from him, and he said, "Look at the shelf. Are you happy?" And I looked, and he had 10 copies of Saga there for me, or Saga Volume 1 there for me. I said, "Yeah, I'll get back to you when I've sold them all." And he gave me the LOL or whatnot. The store opened at 10 o'clock. At 11:45, I shot him a text, "We're out, order more."
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, if we had, that's amazing. If we had a ton of retailers like you, but also a ton of books like that, which
Right.
is
No, I mean, obviously Saga is unique because it is one of those really, I mean, it's like Bone in terms of there are going to be way more people that like it than don't like it.
so
And you can do a great book that still has tons of people that just aren't into that type of book. But that's
I did a Western. I can tell you that is the truth.
right.
It is basically, it doesn't matter how well reviewed or how many people are interested in your book. Westerns are a harder sell, and so I learned that on West Sundown. I mean, we knew it kind of going in, but but I think it's always worth it to try, and especially since we were trying sort of a genre.
Well, and and this is something that drives me up the wall when two of the biggest corporations in the world own the two biggest comic companies and they take no risks. Is comic, I mean, a lot of us think of comics as like an immediate thing because single issues need to sell now or whatnot, but we're in the era of digital, we're in the era of trade paperback.
Right.
You shouldn't give up on marketing a book just because it didn't sell today.
Well, I mean, and I always remember because my personal experience in comics has been all of my successful books were not as successful in the direct market. So Hackslash
Medium, Walking Dead wasn't initially successful in the direct market.
Yeah, so I mean that was the case of Hackslash, Revival,
right?
Money Shot, but I was talking to somebody from one of the big two, and they said we've never had a book that was a big success in trade that wasn't a success in monthlies, and I thought that's crazy, but it's probably true because
it might be, or it might be they're not actually paying attention. Because I would be willing to bet that Squirrel Girl's done better in trade.
That's what I would think.
To bet that Ms. Marvel has done better in trade.
Yeah, I mean, I would think so too. I mean, and I can tell from
and for that matter, I guarantee you, Ultimate Spider-Man has done better in trade.
Yeah, I mean, and I can say for sure Grayson sells better in trade. I get the royalty statement, so I know, that did fine in monthly. It did okay, but like as a collection, even as an omnibus, I think it's the $100 deluxe. I think has made way more money than the comic.
I mean, they might be talking about. I mean, like, because I was working in a store way back when Ultimate Spider-Man was coming out too, and with each trade we'd wind up getting more pulls. So it might be that the sales would catch up to the trade really quick, but I mean, it was amazing that they had to be convinced to do trades of books because I'm like, oh, they'll hurt sales. And I'm like, no, they won't. No, they won't. People reading this stuff never hurt sales.
Yeah, it is. I will say with Local Man, it's not. We are, where we are with
Another great book. I forget how many great books you're doing at any given time. How do you teach
I just don't have
and have children?
Yeah,
Do you sleep?
I do sleep. I just don't do anything else except for work and eat and sleep. I guess that's like all I
And
do.
play with the kids a little bit, and
Not enough, Cats
right.
Cradle plays in the background. But we've had it with Logo Man that the sales have held pretty consistently, but we haven't added from the trade, which is what would traditionally happen with a book, especially one that is as well reviewed as ours is. And the buzz is good, but it's like it just adds trades. Like everybody just goes,
Right.
yeah, I'll just wait for the trade.
Yeah,
Now,
I think that's a shift now.
yeah,
Partially because there's a whole generation of comics readers who have only read trades now.
right, exactly.
And also because I think in the early days when it would push the single sales, it was because trades were so new, you still weren't convinced
Right.
that they collect the next one. I mean, and there's still some of those Vertigo series that it's hard to get.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have all the Shade the Changing Man collected. They never have. They've never collected all of Sandman Mystery Theater. They only recently have made them all available digitally. For a while it was really hard to get, like, and really annoying because they've got like 3 collections, enough to make you go, oh, this is amazing. And it's like, okay, Wikipedia says there's 50 more issues.
Which, and partly is because at the time there wasn't really those 2 markets, right? I mean,
right.
And to this, the comic shops, that's the market that isn't really growing while the trade market is growing. So it's kind of, it's partially it's that there hasn't been the full switch over, and I don't know if it's enough to just be like Europe, where we just put out, like collected editions and stuff. So
I mean, some people are starting to pull it off. I mean, Brubaker and Phillips have gone that route.
Yeah, I would say not some people, those 2 people.
Alex DeCampi's been going more that route.
They're Kickstarted. They're Kickstarted. Which, I mean, I'm not saying there's.
Well, no, Parasocial wasn't Kickstarted.
It was okay. Well, I mean,
the Image.
I hope so. Yeah, I'm for it. It's
no, it's still not a ton.
Yeah.
At least in the traditional comic sense, but I mean, everything published by Avery Hill or Anders McMeel and they're doing more and more. I mean, the actual book market is becoming a significantly bigger part of comics if we're using the McLeod definition. And but I'm looking at the clock and I don't want to take you too long, and we haven't even gotten to what we showed.
Deathstalker, right?
So let's talk Deathstalker. And how much did you get to work with Slash, or was it mostly he put his name on it for you?
Oh, no. I mean, he's very involved. He's like the executive producer.
Okay.
Which is, in the film world, someone with a great amount of responsibility and control. And fortunately, Slash as a producer is like a really chill, cool producer.
Okay.
I mean, he's the one who got the rights to these films. He's the one that was, working on doing this stuff. And so, he's the keeper of the flame, Slash is. Which is totally metal and totally in character for Slash.
So you're going to bring him to Chicago for a signing at Challengers with the 2 of you, and
he's floated the idea of, like, he was mentioned, like, yeah, maybe I'll stop at New York Comic Con. I was like, oh my god, if I could go get a coffee with Slash, I think I could just check out, man. I'd be like, I did it all. But he was.
I mean, have you seen the Geico commercials? I mean, he's been trying out for like bar bands lately. So I mean, maybe.
Right. I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, he's really hurting, but and so the way that the book is done is that essentially we all, me and Jim and Steve Kostansky and Slash and the guys from Raven Banner and then also the boys from Vault. We all hop on to a Zoom. We talk out a bunch of shit, and we kind of take those big ideas, and then I distill it into a sort of
a script,
a story, and then we just pass it around, and people do notes, and that's how we've put this thing together. And then the script does the notes and rounds and stuff too. So far, it's been amazingly pleasant, and I knock on wood, because that could get
we're going to knock really hard on wood that nobody decides that things need to be changed after the thumbnail stage.
Right, exactly. But yeah, it's
Jim's not here, but I'm going to speak for him and say that everything needs to be locked in before pencils start.
But I mean, a big part of this, I think, is we came into this on the same page, because the reason to do Deathstalker is being aware of what the movies are, and also aware of what the story.
I am not actually aware of what the movies are, so you want to give me the
sure.
Cliff Notes version?
Yeah, sure. Well, so Deathstalker is a film series. It began back in 1982. When Conan the Barbarian came out, it was a massive hit, the Arnold Schwarzenegger film, and so a lot of little companies started doing these knockoffs. So there's a whole host of low budget, filmed in Italy or filmed in Argentina, low budget fantasy films that are Conan-esque.
Okay.
So, Sword and the Sorceress, and there is Barbarian Queen, and there's all these films, and Deathstalker was one of those films, and also probably one of the most notorious ones, because it was sort of shockingly violent, really, really naughty and full of nudity, and just powerfully weird.
Okay.
So it is a Conan sort of type story, but it's its own thing. And so that came out in 1982, and then there is 3 other sequels. There's 4 Deathstalker films. Deathstalker 2 is directed by Jim Wynorski, and it's kind of a comedy. Number 3 is more of a swashbuckler movie. It was also featured on Mystery Science Theater. And then Deathstalker 4 came out at the end of the 90s. So
always the sign of a quality movie,
right,
when you're featured on Mystery Science Theater.
But and I mean, I watched them when I watched the first 3 when I was a kid. I was a big fan of the second one. I saw the first one probably 15 times, because it was in the 80s. You just got a VHS and you just played it until it fell apart. So there's tons of interesting ideas in the Deathstalker world. And one of the most interesting ones that I think about it is that it doesn't have a super rigid continuity. The movies are it
certainly makes it easier to work in.
Yeah, they're different tones. They're different. Sometimes it seems like a different character, though it ends up kind of tying back to the same basic idea. And so it made for this really kind of fascinating series of movies that, if you were a fan of fantasy movies at that time, or if you're just sort of into weird 80s films, everybody knew those movies. So when Vault was talking about, hey, we talked Slash about doing comics, and he wants to do Deathstalker, I was like, what? Yes, sign me up. I didn't even wait for them to ask me. I just told them to sign me up. But it's the way we take it is to, one of the ideas that Steve had pushed and Slash was into, was we kind of maintain that feeling that it's kind of a nebulous continuity. This almost feels like it's stories told about a man, but it's from a different perspective depending on who's telling the story. So
that makes yesterday's stretch goal announcement make even more sense, because now we've added the barbaric Deathstalker crossover, which, now that I know more about Deathstalker, and I already love barbaric, I think it's gonna be just ridiculously brilliant.
Yeah, it's funny. It seems like a big part of Mike's influence on barbaric was these 80s movies, and it wasn't. I mean, he loves Conan and stuff, but he's not. I was like, well, I thought you were watching these movies on repeat when you made barbaric. It's like, nope. So
I mean, I didn't think that, but that's because I am young enough that I didn't know that those. I mean, I was 2 when Deathstalker came out, apparently. Sure. So
yeah, I was 5, which I shouldn't have watched it, but I did.
I had no idea that this existed.
So
I sometimes I know a lot about Donald Duck.
Well, that's great. Yeah,
I lived a little bit of a sheltered existence, though I knew Carl Barks was much earlier than most people do.
Let's see. That's not nothing,
right?
Yeah, But I mean, a big part of this then is just, figuring out what was so compelling about those movies and why they worked, and then also what didn't, and what kind of stuff doesn't translate. There's a lot of stuff in there that, if you watch those movies, you're like, oh boy, that is blatantly misogynist. And so we work with the idea that, maybe this guy is still like that, but maybe he's trying to change. And, maybe that's part of our story as well, is that it's kind of a re-examination of how we used to think things were okay that we don't anymore.
Very cool. I look forward to it. I backed it already. I'm debating whether I'm upping my backing to the hardcover before we run out of time. Yeah. Teacher's salary, so it's that.
Sure, yeah, I know.
It's that balancing act, particularly because there's so many good comics, Tim.
I know it, and that's that's the thing I could never complain about, is as frustrated as I can get with the business. Like, well, there's some incredible stuff happening, and a lot of really diverse stuff, different genres. Right. I mean, that's the thing, and
and that's where I love being. I like so much more than I don't like in terms of like genres and whatnot. And it turns out that when it comes to comics, that's even more so. Like, I can't really do a horror movie, but I can do horror comics.
Well, that's great. That's interesting.
Well, I broke it down because I can't read horror either, but I can do horror comics. And what it is I specifically don't like the gore.
Okay.
In the book, and it's weird because I can like handle gore and Last of the Mohicans.
Okay. It's action.
I'm like offended by gore as entertainment, I think. Yeah. That's the best I can come up with.
Yeah.
So when I'm reading a book, the author decides how many words and therefore how much time I spend with it. When I'm watching a movie, the director and the editor decide how to linger on shots and whatnot, and therefore how much time I spend with it.
Right.
When I'm reading a comic, obviously I need to get the words. And I'm not going to ignore the art, but I get to decide how much time I spend.
That's interesting. So you can go like, oh, that's a big red spot. It's probably a torn out heart.
Yeah. Well, I'll spend a little bit more time with it than that, but it'll essentially be, okay, heart torn out. I get it. Turn the page.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting.
I don't need to zoom in and go, oh, look at how, every once in a while, if the art's really cool, I'll be able to detach and appreciate the artistic side of it. But for the most part, it's like, okay, get the picture.
Interesting. Wow. Again, and that's part of that, you talked the Scott McCloud thing. That's a really interesting part of comics, is you are filling in so much of the.
Yeah, comics. I think all art, the viewer, the consumer is the final collaborator. But I think in comics, more than any other medium, the consumer gets to actually do some heavy lifting.
Right. It is what is called a cool medium, right? It's not a hot medium.
Right. Well, but it's also, as a teacher, what I love about comics is they're the only medium that engages both sides of your brain at the same time. You're actually going to remember more because it is more it's an active experience. It's not passive in any way, shape, or form. And that just makes it really cool. Yeah. So I'm even more excited. You might have pushed me up to hardcover there. You might have pushed me up to hardcover. Particularly because when does the campaign end?
Today, right? I think.
I thought it was tomorrow. If it's today, then everybody won't be able to buy it by the time they listen to this, because.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure, but you got a little bit of time left. So
yeah, I know I have a little bit of time. Probably people who are listening to this on the first day it came out, go check out the Kickstarter. Otherwise, I'm pretty certain Vault is releasing the book itself, just not all the cool extra stuff.
Yep. And it is some of the finest Jim Terry work I've seen. Which
Well,
is
and Jim Terry does amazing work. I reread all of West of Sundown since yesterday
oh, thank you.
because I'm like, I get to talk to them together. We're gonna have to set something else up to talk West of Sundown. I'm suspecting that we have a third volume coming at some point, just because
I've got the plan for it.
specific ways that the
The ending obviously sets up the next major bad guy. So
well, and we've had Griffin all along, but we haven't seen him or not seen him as
yeah,
one would expect.
right. Yes, as he is the Invisible Man. So
Yes,
he's growing. He's now a visible teen, as we've been describing. He will
right.
become an Invisible Man at some point.
One of the things that I loved as I was rereading it is you take all of these European monster tales and then set them in the American West.
Yeah.
Was that just were you conscious when you were doing it that like all of these characters have European origins, or and you were like moving them across the globe? I mean, obviously you were conscious a little bit because some of them you moved. I mean, Moreau started it.
Had to. Yeah. Well, I mean, the reason that book came together was at the very beginning of the COVID lockdown, and there was, I just had a daughter, and she was very fresh and new, and so I had, while before lockdown, when I first had her, I watched all of the Universal horror movies just while I would be like sitting at night and sitting with her, and then while COVID happened, and then there was no going out, no doing anything. Anyway, I sat down and reread Dracula, Frankenstein, Visible Man, Camilla, all those things that I had read as a teenager or kid and hadn't read in so long. And I loved them. I was like, holy shit, I can't remember. I just didn't remember how much I loved specifically Frankenstein, which is just an incredible book.
I still have to like actually read Frankenstein, because I mean, you're just saying that, and Christopher Cantwell and his wife, who's a PhD in literature, I think even European literature, I forget exactly, did a podcast during lockdown, and one of their episodes was all about Frankenstein. I'm like, see, I've never thought about that aspect of Frankenstein. I like need to go dive into this book now.
It's incredible. I mean, it's a book when you were a kid, you either read because you were a weird horror kid like myself, or because they made you read in class or something.
I had to read it in class, which is probably why I didn't actually like read all of it.
Yeah. But when you sit down and read it, in your 40s, and just sort of recognize, one, she was, as a woman writing this thing, it's the first real science fiction novel. Just think of all the sort of things she created with this, and what she, the world, she had to say that she was a man that wrote it because no one believed a woman could write it. And just just the intensity of it, the real subtle passions of the monster, which is incredible. Reading it now, you can see that, and it's pretty incredible. So, but I'm reading all these books, and it occurred to me, like when I was reading Invisible Man, it was like, oh, this takes place in like late 1800s, and Dracula takes place in 1897. I was like, wait, in London, while Dracula was there, Griffin was there.
Right.
Again, not like this has not been done. Obviously, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah, I was about to say
some of this stuff, but then I was thinking about, like, well, what was the American West in the 1870s, late 1870s? Like, could there have been a moment where these things all came together, which was sort of the loose overall inspiration. But the other part of it was when Aaron Campbell and I started talking about things, was that we were interested in that all those stories, the Frankenstein and Dracula, they have bases in old European folklore. Obviously, Dracula has connections to that. Frankenstein sort of does, actually, with the golem and all that sort of stuff. Right. And so we started thinking about, like, well, what if those stories met the stories of the Southwest, which is, the stories associated with the native cultures there, and the kind of monsters that were part of the stories that came from Mexico. And so that's kind of, you have the La Llorona and the much later Chupacabra, which was not until the 50s or 60s, but we posited that came earlier, and we just kind of put that stuff all together and said, well, what if they all ran into each other in the West? So it is probably one of my favorite things I've ever made. It is,
It's fantastic.
And I don't get to do. I'm gonna turn my light on. It's gonna be much brighter in here all of a sudden.
Yeah,
but,
I mean,
but I don't. It's Westerns is one of my favorite genres. It's currently underrepresented in comics. I try to buy every one that comes out, but when I get one, I get excited, and so I was like, well, I have to do one before I die, and so West of Sundown is my Western before I die story.
I mean, it's I read it issue by issue as it came out, but this was the first time that I read it all together, and it really takes it to another level to be able to like read the story. So I mean, I hope that it won't wind up going anywhere, because it feels like the type of book that will have real staying power in terms of trade sales, etc. Because I mean, there's just so many different ways to pitch this book.
Yeah, my hope is
people that are going to like it. I mean, we were talking about manga earlier. One of my favorite things about manga is not only is there a book for every genre, pick 2 genres. I don't care how different you think they are. Pick 2 genres, and there's a book that mashes them together.
Yeah, got that. They've got that ability to. They have a much wider audience with a much wider base of interest in their main. So they're able. Yeah, I mean, I envy them that they can get away with, Chainsaw Man, which is ridiculous and kind of stupid, but it looks cool and it's fun.
Right.
And that is something that you couldn't do here.
I always like to bring up a book called Delicious in Dungeon, which mashes up the food comic. And yes, food comics are a thing in Japan, complete with recipes. Yeah. With a Dungeons and Dragons type comic.
Yeah.
And it still has recipes. It just like, it'll say, use the giant spider for this. And then in the bottom, it'll say, if you don't have giant spider available, this won't work.
Lobster or crab, I suppose.
Right.
I mean, it's incredible. It's just I feel like when you do stuff like that here, you also find, part of the sort of side hustle in American comics is you can option these things for TV and movies, which can be a decent check that helps you keep doing the comics. People hate genre mashups.
Well, and I mean,
which is crazy.
Another thing I wonder about, and I need to learn more about the Japanese education system. I know enough to know that I'm not shocked. Because if there's one fault in a lot of our education system, not all of it, I feel proud to be at a school that I don't think it's an issue at, is we have a tendency to teach that there's one way to do things, one right answer. So we beat curiosity out of kids. We beat wonder and imagination out of kids because there's one way to do it and one right answer. And that winds up meaning that there's not the same audience for something that's just batshit crazy.
Or at least if they're going to get batshit crazy, they'll take it from manga, not us, I guess.
Right.
I mean, yeah, that's true. It's weird. I mean, I've certainly seen things in the U.S. comics that are as crazy and weird as
no, we're definitely there's more. We're getting there, but
even like going back, 10, 15 years, but those books didn't last. And part of it is, one, you can't sell it to Hollywood because they'll be like, well, I don't get it. I don't understand.
Right.
Although there will absolutely be a Chainsaw Man movie made by Hollywood at some point.
Absolutely.
Which is crazy frustrating. But, that's kind of that's where we are now. So
maybe one day. We'll get there someday.
Yeah. So we'll see if our little genre mashup horror, classic horror Western thing will find legs. I hope so. I love it. And I would love to do more of it.
All right. Well, I want to let you get to your kids.
Yes,
we definitely need to arrange for you and Tim and hopefully Aaron to come back, because I haven't gotten to talk to Aaron at all. I did send him an email to try to get him to voice Vlad, and he never responded. Because we traded emails about you loaned out Cassie and Vlad to the Santos sisters, and we did do our Santos sisters audio recording.
Yeah, was it Pat Brower?
Patrick Brower and Molly Jane, I think it's Creamer.
Yeah, Molly Jane.
From Challengers took that on for you.
Right. You have to hear it. I haven't heard it yet. So
they're not the biggest names in it because Katie Skelly and Jaime Hernandez were kind enough to be Gary and Bloody Mary.
Wow, that's fantastic.
No, that was my shoot the moon email that worked.
And unbelievable. I mean, I've known Greg and Fig for like 15 years, which is a crazy thing to think too, but I'm so glad those guys are killing it with that book.
It's such a fun book.
Happy to bum my characters to let them do weird things. So
right. So I am gonna close with the question. I mean, you let them borrow it, but you're also letting Zoe Thorogood go on her own. And Zoe's amazing. So I mean, if you're gonna pick somebody to tell a story with your characters, you
couldn't get much better.
You can't.
Yeah.
But what's it like to let somebody else? I mean, Hack Slash has been your baby for pretty much as long as you've been in the business. What's it like to
20 years
to let somebody else take your baby?
It's weird.
Thing. And how involved have you been in that book?
Well, I mean, I can even make this. I worked on Dick Grayson for like years, right? I did the Grayson book, and I had Nightwing, and then all that stuff. And I have trouble reading Nightwing comics now. I just do. It's just like because I have a voice in my head, and someone else writes it. It's great that
and that's not even your baby. That's just
he has 70 years of history before me.
Right.
Right. And I only was there for like 3. So so it's even weirder to read Hack Slash. It's like I love that Zoe's into it. I really like her take on it.
Yeah, her first issue was amazing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
She's probably win an Eisner for Hack Slash, which is incredible.
And I mean, if you want to hook us up, I would love to talk to her.
Yeah, sure.
I reached out, but I haven't heard back.
She's very busy, and also like
no. That I always assume that I'm not going to hear back. I'm blown away that. I mean, I've told this story a few times, but all my life I've had trouble like reaching out to people I don't know and asking for things. And there's no good way to practice that, right? For the most part, but it can be an important thing sometimes because most of the time it's like reaching out to a bank or a doctor or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I started the podcast, I'm like, oh wow, a way to practice that.
Right.
So I challenged myself. I'm going to write to 5 people a day because 1 in 100 is going to get back to me. I mean, I'm a nobody. Like 9 out of 10 get back to you, and 8 say yes. Like way slow down.
I'm really happy that someone wants to talk about our books. I mean, that's just that's the hard thing with comics is, you have to talk about it to get people engaged. And I notice when I talk about things, I can sell books.
Right.
But it's just finding those places to do
I think it's even more than that. I think it's that even as comics gets bigger, the number of people that comics geeks or comics like creators have to go geek out comics with isn't actually that much more than the number of people that I have to go geek out comics with. So to a certain extent, it's like I get to geek about comics.
Totally true. Yeah. I mean, here in Chicago, we're a little bit better off because there is a lot of us, but you're
well,
right.
I think that's why there have started becoming enclaves too. I mean, Portland, Chicago, Minneapolis, of all places.
Yeah, I used to live
I love Minneapolis, so I mean, I'm glad that it's still wow, comics.
Yeah.
Comics have a community in Minneapolis. Awesome.
It's awesome. It's a Charles Schultz lived there. It's the town comic cartoon. So yeah. But I mean,
we just did our comic strip book club on Charles Schultz.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. He's a legend, huge influence.
Bob Sikoriak and Carl Krumholtz joined me.
That's awesome.
Quarterly.
Well, and so always happy to talk comics. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely.
Always a good chat. And sorry we didn't get Jim, but we'll catch him.
Yeah, things happen, and it gives you an excuse to come back, and us an excuse to try to rope Aaron in, because I wound up with a concussion last January or last February, that I was still doing stuff, but the thing that was hard was writing emails.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So I don't know if you remember, but like last December, we were like laying groundwork for the three of you to all come on together.
Yeah,
But
sure.
then but then I got hit in the head, and I got really bad writing emails for a while. And I bumped into Jim at Cake, and I'm like, hey, we never did that. And he's like, email. I'm like, I'll try.
Well, you have a good excuse. I hope you're all good, man.
I'm finally 100% again, and it's so nice to be able to like have full cognition back.
Yeah, Jesus, terrifying.
It's weird to not be able to think the way you like to.
Oh man, yeah.
Thank you so much, Tim. I will reach out soon to bug you about Zoe, because I would love to talk to her. And to start laying groundwork to, like, maybe when you announce West to Sundown Volume 3, which I'm certain is coming up once Deathstalker's done.
Right, for sure.
We'll get the band together, and we'll talk about that amazing book, because it was, like I said, it's one of those books that I read it the second time. I'm like, I like this even better than I thought I liked it, and I liked it a lot before.
That's good, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for
Have a great day, Tim. And
right,
yeah,
have a good night.
Way too many good books, and people know where to find you. Unless you want to plug.
Hacking Tim Seeley on Twitter, and same thing on Blue Sky. So happy to,
there you go.
Or Tim Seeley on Instagram.
Okay.
Yes, always a pleasure, man. I'll catch you later. I'm gonna go.
Have a great night, Tim.
All right, you too, man.
Bye.
Hey guys, this is Tyler from 22 Panels. I'm here to tell you all about our Patreon. If you enjoy this show, please consider donating to our Patreon to keep this show going. We have many different tiers, all different levels, to help you decide what's right for you. Okay, so get on out there to patreon.com/22panelspodcast.